What's up, everybody? Joe Ringen here, coming to you again with another book review. This one today, man. This is a really fun one. It's a really cool, near and dear to my heart, fun book, and I'm excited to bring it to you guys. So today, it's all about another movie novelization, but this is one of the best movies of all time, in my opinion, and hopefully a lot of people's opinion. Hook, which the great movie, Robin Williams, incredible. Dustin Hoffman, Julia Roberts is even in that movie, and it's just, man, it's such a good, feel-good movie with great morals, fun, swashbuckling adventure, and the greatest John Williams score of all time that he's ever done. And you can ask any of my friends, I've been on record saying that forever. Hook is the best John Williams score, and it's so tragically underrated. Like, everyone thinks Star Wars and Harry Potter, and rightly so, Jurassic Park. But oh, dude, the John Williams score, far and away beyond that. And it's interesting too, because I know I'm getting on a tangent now, but when you listen to the Hook score, you can start to hear Phantom Menace. Like, you can start to see how he sort of got those ideas and that sort of style, music style, and it kind of goes into Phantom Menace a few years later. Because Hook came out in 1991, or maybe the movie came out in 1992, but the movie novelization came out in 1991, early 90s. Peak childhood awesomeness. So before I get into that, I want to give my little spiel that you guys are all familiar with. I am an author. I wrote a book called The Ballad of Ages, Tale of Epic Fantasy. So check it out if you like fantasy. I'd really appreciate it. Hopefully you like it. But in addition to writing, I love doing book reviews. I love reading. And I want to bring to you guys some cool books that maybe you wouldn't see otherwise, and just some fun ones. So a few months back, I started getting on this kick about movie novelizations. It started with like Batman, and for some reason it seems like the late 80s and early 90s, for some reason that was just like the heyday of movie novelizations. I don't see too many anymore these days, like in Barnes and Noble and stuff. It just doesn't seem like it's a big thing anymore for whatever reason. And I don't know if it's good or bad, but I wanted to go on a journey to figure out if it's good or bad, to see if movie novelizations are actually up to par, if they're worth the time. And for the most part, yeah, they have been, surprisingly. At least the ones I've picked up. So, I made it a thing. If I ever am in like a used bookstore and I see a cool movie novelization that for whatever reason seems interesting, I'll pick it up. And so this one, I saw this at Half Price Books, Hook, and I just had to get it because it's one of my favorite movies. And the other thing is, if you notice who the author is, Terry Brooks. And for those of you who like fantasy, Terry Brooks is a big name in fantasy. Some love him, some hate him, but somewhere in between, I guess. I'm probably more in the in between. Hold on, I gotta check my phone real quick. Okay, we're good. Sorry to interrupt. Adult life stuff. So Terry Brooks, I don't like adore him. I definitely don't hate him. I think he's good. He's a good writer, and he gets a lot of hate, and I think it's kind of dumb. Like, I think most people that just hate on him online probably haven't actually read a lot of his books. He just copied Lord of the Rings, but man, everybody copies Lord of the Rings, and that's fine. Like, Lord of the Rings is the blueprint. Like, you cannot write fantasy without in some ways, copying Lord of the Rings. Anyway, different topic for a different time. Terry Brooks was chosen to write the novelization of Hook, and I think it was a good choice. He was still in demand as a fantasy writer in the early 90s. He was still putting out the Shannara stuff. And he's a good choice for fantasy, because this book, well, okay, if you haven't seen the movie, go see the movie. Watch it somehow. It's out there. So before I get into the review, what's this book about? So it's about the tale of Peter Pan, right? We all know Peter Pan, the the boy who never grows up, lives in Neverland, fights evil Captain Hook. You know, fun stuff, fun stuff. But this is like a new take. This is a kind of a sequel, and it's genius. It's a really genius story. I love that. It's not just like a cheap money grab like most movies nowadays are. This is actually like a really smart sequel to Peter Pan. So, of course, Peter Pan has grown up and he comes back to London. And through some things that I just won't get into the details, he gets swept back away to Neverland as an adult, and he has to rediscover his the joys of youth and what it means to be young and happy and have joy instead of just being a boring old crabby adult. And he has to defeat Captain Hook to save his children. And there's so many good themes in this book or the story, in the movie. So many good themes, just good versus evil, like good, just what it means to be a good human being. It's just a great feel good movie, and the book captured that too. So Terry Brooks, he did a great job putting this into a novel form. He really did. He took some sort of screenplay and put it into a novel form, and I'm sure that's not easy to do. But he did a great job. So much so that you could enjoy this book without seeing the movie. So I knew it was going to, and it would make sense. It would flow. I knew though going into this, like it was going to be super tough for me to give a good objective review of the book, just the book on its merits, because like the movie is so ingrained into just like my life. So I could not stop picturing Peter Pan, Robin Williams and Tinkerbell as Jeweler. I can't separate it. So I'll never know what the experience is of only reading this book without having seen the movie. But having read a lot of books, I have a sneaking suspicion you would still enjoy it. Like it's a good fun book. Um, Terry Brooks he writes it really well. And it flows. It makes sense. It's not just like a scene for scene retelling. Like it makes sense. Terry Brooks did a great job of also like describing visuals. So I think that's why he was a good choice for this story, because he described Neverland very well. He described, which is because it's kind of like a fantasy book, right? So he did a good job describing characters, describing Neverland, just describing the fighting scenes. I don't think you need to have had those visuals of the movie to be able to support this book to understand it. I don't think that's true. So it's a good book. It's short. I read it in 3 sittings. I probably could have read it in 1, honestly. It's a short book, but probably takes like 3 hours to read the whole thing, just front to back. So if you ever just have time to kill and you want to just relive childhood, this is a great one. I recommend it to everybody because it has so many good morals and themes and feel good moments, and it's just a great story. And I don't know how I doubt Terry Brooks had anything to do with the creating of the story. I don't think that was his job. So kudos to whoever wrote the story or the screenplay. Phenomenal. It's genius. I love it. Very creative. And then kudos, of course, Terry Brooks for adapting that into novel form. That said, like there are some things that prevent it from being 100%, 10 out of 10, and that prevent it from being my favorite novelization. Number 1, still best novelization in my mind is Total Recall. Go back and watch that video. That was a surprise, but it's amazing. It's a great novelization. Hook could be a close second. I have to give it a 7 out of 10 and a couple of reasons, which is still a good score. It's a great score. I mean, if you think about it, most movie novelizations are just cheap money grabs. This is actually a good book. So, but what prevents it from being a 10 out of 10 or a better score? A couple things. So I get the impression that Terry Brooks, he didn't put a lot of time and effort in this, and maybe that's just the way it is. Like he's under a lot of time pressure. I don't know how that goes. but a lot of it was just taking this, I'm guessing, just taking the screenplay and just putting it in novel form, not really expounding upon it. That's what I love about movie novelizations, and when you can get those books that expound upon what's in the screenplay and give you little extras, like Easter eggs or just more to the story. There wasn't any of that in this. It was just like almost literally scene for scene, but written very well. So that's the difference. So it's a written very well adaptation, but it's not anything like extra. I would have loved to see extra. I would have loved this story is so clever and so good on its own without needing a movie. I wish this was a book first. I wish someone wrote this as a novel and then it moved into and it changed into a movie later instead of a movie and then adapted into a novel. There's so much depth to this story that I would love to be more fleshed out and explored. Just the themes of adulthood, um, recapturing what it means to be young again, just the joys. When you're a kid, man, you are just there's just joy. Like adulthood just zaps that from you. I don't know when that happens exactly, but it happens to all of us. And there's that awesome, like innocent joy of being a child that us adults we need to have. And this book, it's a cool theme and struggle that Peter Pan has, and he finally finds it again, and it's amazing. Um, so I wanted that to be more expounded upon and just written in more detail. Uh, the other themes of just like, adults have, like being too busy with work and stuff to dedicate time to your family. So that's a big part of this. Like Peter sort of loses touch with his family and his kids, and finally he reclaims that and he realizes what's really important in life. It's not work, it's not money, it's not success or whatever. It's family. So he realizes that and comes back to his family and is there for them. And that's just a great theme and great morals that this book has. And I wish more books had that. Maybe they do, and I love them. I love them. I'm not a fan of these grim, dark books too much, which I think are way too prevalent these days. Don't get me wrong. I like Game of Thrones and stuff, but the world needs more Hook, man. It needs more good morals and stuff. Um, so, so yeah, there's a lot of awesome themes that I just would love to be explored more in prose, and not. And I think this book has such potential. This story has so much potential to go so much deeper. So I would have loved that, and I wish Terry Brooks, he's got the skills as a writer to have done that, but probably realistically, he was under the gun of some time constraints and just needed to get this off, out to the publishers or whatever. I'm almost positive that's how this would have worked. But he still did a very good job with prose, even in this. A good prose. It's not just like then this and then this and then this. Like he's a good writer, and there's some very good sentences and stuff in this book that almost evoke different images than the movie. Not as much as I would have loved. That's why it's holding it back a little bit. The other thing that was weird about this book, and this isn't the author's fault, but and kind of in the movie now that I go back and rewatch it, like, and this should have been more, again, expounded upon because it's just kind of confusing, is all the weird love interests of Peter Pan, and it's very briefly touched upon in the book and in the movie. Watching it again, it's kind of like, as an adult, it's kind of like, huh, what's going on here? But so basically, Peter Pan, what I gather, I don't know if this is actually right, but so first of all, he's like in love with Wendy, and that's probably from the original books or whatever. So he's in love with Wendy, but in Hook, Wendy goes back to the real world. Peter Pan hasn't gone, stays in Neverland. So Wendy grows up, right? So he can't like fall in love and marry Wendy. Generations past, he eventually does fall in love with Wendy's granddaughter, Moira, who is his wife in the movie, or Hook, and they have children, right? So that's his wife, and they're in love. Good stuff. But then, like in the there's like a weird chapter where like Tinkerbell's in love with him, and Peter's kind of like loves her back, but it's not one of those like, no, Tinkerbell, sorry, I've moved on, right? I have a wife. I'm in love with Moira. Sorry, Tink. This time passed, right? That doesn't like happen. It's like they kiss and then he remembers his kids and he flies away. So it's kind of like, what? That's weird. Okay. I wish he would have tied up that one. It kind of does in the end when Tinkerbell visits him back in London and then she flies away. But then she's like, I'll always remember you in the time between sleep and being awake, that weird time when you're sort of waking up. She's like, I'll always remember you in that time. So you're like, what? Okay. So that was just a weird thing. But again, that's not Terry Brooks' fault. I don't know whose fault that is. It's just a weird thing. They should have tied up and handled it differently, I think. But hey, hard to turn down Julia Roberts, I guess. So I mean, there's that. So those sort of things sort of held it back. Another kind of just weird. I don't know if I think this came out before the movie, as most novelizations do. So Rufio's a great character. Oh man, bangarang, right? Oh, so good, dude. But Rufio in the book, he's got a Jamaican accent for some reason. He says like "man," like "yeah, man," and stuff like. Okay, so maybe in the movie he doesn't. So maybe in the screenplay or the people told Terry like Rufio, he's got a Jamaican accent, so he wrote him that way. All his dialogue has like Jamaican accent. So that was just kind of weird. Doesn't take you out of the story because a lot of the Lost Boys have like different accents because they're all gathered from out the world and stuff. But that was just a thing that was missed, right? Tighten that up. Come on, man. But that didn't ruin the score. That was just kind of an interesting Easter egg that I found. I loved the names of the Lost Boys. Like that was a cool thing the book had that I don't remember really in the movie. Maybe they said the names, but I just don't pay attention to that because the music's so good. But like, oh, the best name of one of the Lost Boys, his name is No Nap. Like No Nap, what a cool name. Like, yeah. And it captures everything about being a young youth, like a lost boy, right? No nap. Who wants to sleep? Just just party all day, right? That's what kids do. Um, I will say this: this book came at a great time in life. Sometimes things happen in life just at the right moments, at the right times when they should, and it's really supplemented my enjoyment of this book. So I started this book Saturday, 2 days ago, because I finished anyway. Doesn't matter. Last night, Sunday night, my church had the youth lock-in, overnight lock-in, right? I was a chaperone at it. And so today I'm sort of low on sleep. But it's just incredible because like, you see, I work an adult job, right? Office job. So you hang out with adults all the time and all you can think about is like getting sleep, paying bills, car maintenance, whatever, stuff, awesome adult stuff. But man, it's so fun. Like at the youth lock-in, you hang out with these kids and you kind of remember what it's like to be a kid again. They're just having fun, throwing dodgeballs at each other's heads. It's just awesome. And so like that, it's kind of just hilarious because in this book, Peter Pan goes and hangs out with the lost kids again. And he kind of remembers what it means to be a kid. You get that joy again. So like, that's just one of those things how in life, some things just line up perfectly. And that was kind of funny. I just laughed when I realized that. But yeah, so it's again, go see the movie. Obviously, amazing movie. This is a cool novelization. Very well done. You'll enjoy it. It's a quick read, and I can safely recommend it to anybody. 7 out of 10. Give it a 7 out of 10. I'm still gonna check out some other movie novelizations that come my way. So far, Total Recall is still awesome. Still the best one, surprisingly. But Hook is great too. 7 out of 10. All right, that's all for today. Until next time, you have a great rest of your night.